Okay, quick game. You own a local business. June is coming fast. People keep saying the World Cup is going to bring visitors north. You want to do something fun, maybe a watch party, maybe run a special, maybe just a reason for people to walk through your door. And then you hit the first problem. What are you actually allowed to say?
Meanwhile, on the fan side, there's a whole nother problem. You're sitting at a watch party, everyone around you gasps, the ref blows a whistle, and someone yells, "That's offsides!" And you're standing there like, "Yeah, absolutely, guys, that was totally offsides." What does offsides mean?
So today, we're going to solve both problems.
How local businesses can get ready now without having to guess.
And how the rest of us can learn just enough soccer to enjoy the summer without faking it. Welcome back to From Pitch to Puget Sound, the limited run series from the Snohomish Podcast Network, getting you ready for the 2026 World Cup summer with the Snohomish County lens. I'm Emily.
And I'm Kyle.
This episode is for two groups of people: business owners who want to be ready for the summer rush, and listeners who want to enjoy soccer without pretending they already know all the rules.
No fake confidence required.
To help us with the business side, we're going to hear from Tammy Dunn, Executive Director of the Snohomish County Sports Commission. Hi, Tammy. Can you tell us a little bit about the Snohomish County Sports Commission and what your organization does?
The Snohomish County Sports Commission is a sports destination management organization for Snohomish County. And really what that means is that our team looks at finding organizations that are looking to bring their sporting events to Snohomish County. And it's all about economic development, and bringing visitors in through sports is the best way I can describe it. These individuals, they stay in our hotels, they eat in our restaurants, buy gas, buy bottled water at grocery stores, and go to attractions. So that's really kind of what we do in helping dollars coming into the county.
Why should businesses in Snohomish County be paying attention to this now?
I think the reason we should care is that people are going to look for places to stay. They may not want to stay in Seattle, and it could be maybe they can't find any hotel rooms or places to stay, or maybe they want to experience a community where they're just not in the city, but very similar to where they're from. And so like more on the outskirts, or more the, Snohomish County is that countryside where you've got the urban feel just steps away from you. And so people don't know where Linwood stops and Seattle starts. And so we're just one big region. And so how do we work together as a region and be prepared for the influx of visitors internationally as well as domestic that are going to come to the 6 Seattle matches? Visit Seattle, what they've done is they've done an economic impact study. And that study shows that it's going to be 750,000 people attending, coming into Seattle. And that's just King County. And so people are going to probably kind of spread out a little bit and find where they need. And this is a big event because being international, you have 6 or 7 countries coming and staying, and these individuals have followers. So internationally, people are going to come and stay for like 5 or 6 days. And so if you have people staying for 5 or 6 days, then you need to have something for them to do, place for them to stay. But I think the other thing is that soccer is the world's game. It's a beautiful game, and it's well known around the country. And from past World Cup games, they've had people come to an area, and they may not even have a ticket, but they want to be near it because they're avid soccer fans. And so we're going to see that, where people will want to be in the same city, though they may not have a ticket.
That's the part that really stands out to me. This is not just about the people inside the stadium. It is also about the people who want to be near the energy of it. So let's make this practical. What is the easiest starting point for a business that wants to do something?
The biggest key is that if they're looking to understand the watch party, particularly for the restaurants, and there's several different elements in how businesses can be involved. And I think that the easiest one are the restaurants, the breweries, the ones that have the TVs that they show sports as part of their usual establishment. That's their everyday business. They're already going to have the subscription for Fox Sports, and they're going to be able to air that. So they're not going to need to have that license with FIFA. So that's one of the low-hanging fruit is what I call it. And so it's understanding when the games are so that they can promote that. And then they can promote that within their own business and to their own customers, and finding ways to let people know that they're going to have a watch party. One of the things that it's been asked of us is who's doing a watch party, and is there going to be a website for a watch party? So we're going to be trying, us as the sports commission, we're going to try to find those businesses that are going to be doing a watch party, and maybe and to get it on a website so that people will know where everybody's having a watch party. I'll just use an example. El Prezo in Everett downtown, they have TVs, and they can show the games. People will be able to, have fun eating, and then kind of come with, their group of friends, and stay there and watch. The other piece is that those businesses can also have the specials, do a special, a soccer themed special, to kind of create that excitement for people, so that, if they forget that there's a World Cup game going on, that they'll remember about that. And so it'll entice people to come in. And so that can go from, Haywire Brewing with what they're doing in Snohomish, to Dave and Buster's with what they're doing in Linwood. So it's really any restaurant, brewery, have a watch party and be able to market that.
I like that because it lowers the pressure. For a lot of businesses, this is not about becoming a completely different kind of place. It's about using what you already know and what you already do well, and giving people a reason to gather. And this is the place where a lot of people get nervous. What can businesses say in their marketing, and what should they avoid?
I will say the one piece, the one caveat is that with all of this, we have to make sure that when we market the event, that we're not saying that it's FIFA World Cup, particularly in the title. You can say the beautiful game, the World Soccer Tournament. You don't use FIFA World Cup or World Cup 26, because people will think that that's a FIFA sponsored. So you can't put it in the title, but people are going to know. And so just be creative in your messaging about, I keep calling it the World Soccer Tournament.
Such an important point, because I think a lot of businesses are willing to participate, but they don't want to accidentally cross a line. So if somebody wants help instead of guessing, where should they start?
The best one that I can think of is the website, is the Seattle WFC26.org. Go to that website. That website is the Seattle FWC 26. And you're going to learn more about the Seattle matches. They have resources. They're going to have a Seattle Sports Commission watch party playbook that will tell you some details on what you can say. Don't use the FIFA, don't use the logos, and then also about some licensing if you have questions. There's also Seattle Metro Chamber. They also have a playbook, and their playbooks really talk about, like, the restaurants, communication with your employees. Make sure that your employees are aware of the matches, of what's going on, so that they can be prepared for their business. Make sure that they're ready for their inventory. Kind of encourage, to have maybe soccer jerseys or T-shirts that have soccer on them, and kind of create that hype. So Seattle Metro's got a really great playbook to tell a lot of different pieces of how small businesses can be involved. Visit Seattle has a playbook as well, where we see a lot of We Seattle or We Are Seattle. People can use that throughout the whole state if they so choose that as well. Snohomish County Tourism, they have a toolkit so that it helps people with the messaging. They even give ideas on the messaging and what to use, rather than saying FIFA World Cup. And then the Snohomish County Sports Commission, we've come up with a business soccer engagement playbook. And this playbook it gives examples of how to do a poster, because there's a certain way you can promote USA and Australia. You can't say the team's names, but you can say USA versus Australia. So there's certain ways you can do that. There's also, how do you get more businesses involved? And so there's a passport. We created a passport with some of the businesses in downtown Snohomish, to kind of create some of those ideas and kind of put them to life. So we have that playbook just to kind of help people to understand, like, be creative and go, oh, I get it now. So just to help them. So there's all kinds of different playbooks. I know Everett will probably come up with a playbook too. But those are ones I know. The Seattle ones are ones we have on our website under snellcoastsports.org. We have a World Cup page, and we're continuing to add more items onto that.
And that is good news because we do not have to build this from scratch. One more thing before we move on. Why prepare now instead of waiting until the last minute?
That is a great question. People ask me, well, how many people are going to come? Are we going to have that many people coming to the Seattle area? And I don't know. I've never experienced this. Never been involved or near a city that has done an international event, basically the largest event in the world ever, bigger than a Super Bowl. I don't know, but it's about how do we be prepared? And, let's just be prepared for all of the different pieces of being an international event, for the safety and security, thinking about people who travel. I mean, I travel for conferences and I do Uber, or if I can, I will actually do like the link rail. So I try to think about, if I was a traveler, what would I do? And particularly with the transportation. And I think, transportation, people are going to do the mass transportation, but, some people will also look for the least expensive hotel rate. And so if that means that they're outside of the area and then having the travel in, then they're going to look for that mass transit, or they just want to be in the area. And that's it's crazy. Some people do that. I mean, they did that for the Super Bowl, and when the Seahawks went to the Super Bowl, and then they came up for the celebration parade. So that's, the avid sports fans, they're going to travel, they're going to find that.
Now, that's the really big takeaway for me. You don't need to know everything today, but you do need to start now.
Totally makes sense. I mean, the World Cup is literally right at our doorstep. Honestly, as a business, I would be fearful of trying to get organized, but I'm glad there's resources out there to help these local businesses get ready.
100%. It's going to be an amazing time, and we're here for all of it. The Snohomish Podcast Network is now a member of the Everett Chamber of Commerce, and we're excited. More people should join. And Kyle, have you ever been a member of a Chamber of Commerce?
I have not. I, to be honest, have no clue what the heck a Chamber of Commerce does.
Okay, well, in a nutshell, they advance economic opportunities for local communities. And I would say through networking, resource, and collaborations. And that's why it's so important that we have them here in Everett. They're actually relatively new. We used to have a chamber. It became the Economic Alliance of Snohomish County, but the Everett Chamber is back, and it really does help small businesses get connected. And I can speak to this firsthand. My husband, my spouse, James, he runs Day Electric. I help him out on the business. Last year in Everett, on a whim, I went to their construction and trades mixer. It was awesome. I had a great time. I was like, James needed to be here. So this year in January, they had another one, and I attended. James was late. He was, had a long day at work, was like super disheveled. He got there, he went and made so many friends. And we have months of business with a few different contractors in that space for his electrical business. So it has already paid off. I said, we're going to be members. And he goes, well, hey, I guess that Chamber of Commerce membership paid off. And I was like, I'm amazing. So you can really see the benefit of I'm amazing. Wendy Poischbeg is amazing. She has grown this Chamber of Commerce in 2 years, not even. We will keep talking about all their great benefits as one of our partnering organizations.
Super exciting. Okay, so that's all about the business side. Now let's jump into how to survive when someone says a soccer term, you're watching a game, and you have no clue what they're saying, and you just smile and nod.
I just say, neat.
First things first, Emily, let's get the basics out of the way.
All right, hit me with it.
The goal is simple. Score more goals than the other team. A goal is scored when the entire ball crosses the goal line and within the goalposts and crossbar.
Okay, well, that part is pretty obvious.
Fair, but we got to start from zero.
Okay.
Now, a soccer game's played on a large rectangular field, usually bigger than an American football field, but they do vary in size. These fields are often called a pitch.
Don't worry, Kyle. I have been reviewing my terms.
Fantastic. Well, let's get through some basics and then we'll jump into that pop quiz. Now, each team has 11 players on a field at a time. Of course, teams also have many players that can be subbed into a game from their bench. The latest rules by FIFA allow 5 of these players to be subbed in a given match. 1 player in each team is the designated goalie or goalkeeper. They're the only ones allowed to touch the ball with their hands, arms. big rule, of course, in soccer is you can't touch the ball with your hands. And goalies can only touch the ball with their hands in a penalty area, when you're looking at a pitch that's typically the big white box around the goal. A standard professional match lasts 90 minutes, split into two 45-minute halves. Luckily, if you have kids, this is not standard for Pee Wee soccer. You don't have to stand around for hours for a 0-0 match.
Phew.
At the end, whoever has the most goals wins.
Okay, wait. Teams can actually win? Every game of soccer I've ever seen just ends in a tie.
Well, fair enough. Games can end in a tie. It depends on the game situation. We're not going to go into all the details today. We're going to cover that topic a lot more closer to the World Cup about how games are affected based on where they're happening and how the whole tournament's organized.
Sounds good. Looking forward to it.
Okay, Emily, I know I gave you some terms earlier, and I asked you not to Google them. And so we're going to cover them. We'll see how much you already know. And then for the terms that you don't know, I want to hear what you think the terms mean, and then we'll also dive into what they are and how our fans out there can stay in the loop and understand what's happening in a soccer game.
Well, and as everyone knows, I don't know anything about soccer. I'm a baseball girl, so I am just going to use my knowledge of other sports to figure out the answers here. No shame in that.
Absolutely. And this is certainly supposed to be an educational experience. We want folks to learn about soccer terms. Now, certainly, Emily, there will be a little bit of a chance for you to show off your skills.
We'll see if I can deduce the answers.
Before we get too far into this, if you're struggling to keep up with any of this, that's totally okay. We're firing a lot of terms at you all at once. There's going to be some references and some links in the description of this show notes. So take a look at that, and that'll help you keep up to speed with what we're talking about here and go into some more details about what we're going to be talking about.
I know that will help me follow up. I love a good visual, so being able to listen and see at the same time will be perfect. Great resource for me to follow up on this too.
Okay, first terms, Emily. Goal line, touch line. What do you think?
I think the goal line must be the line that determines whether or not you got a goal or not. The touch line is probably the line that you don't want to touch, actually, because you'll be out of bounds if you go outside of it.
You're on hitting the nail on the head on both those. But let me add a little bit more color. That's the boundary of the field. Goal line is the short side. Touch line is the long side.
Oh.
Ball goes outside of it, out of bounds. Yes, of course, if it goes through the goal, it's a goal. Okay, next part of the pitch we want to cover. The 18-yard box.
18 yards away from something?
You're probably about 80% of the way there on this one. It is 18 yards away from the goal line. So this is the biggest white box that you see around the goals themselves. This is typically the boundary for goalkeepers to use their hands. You may also see another smaller box called the 6-yard box. We're not going to go into the weeds. Typically, that's not important for the purpose of most games that you'll be watching.
All right.
And then, of course, I know I said earlier that 90 minutes is a regular soccer game, but of course, every rule has an exception. Stoppage time.
This is the time that I hate because it's tracked by like one person who keeps his secret and then just lets the game keep going until they say the time is out. It's rude.
You're not wrong. It's very annoying. Luckily, technology has improved these last few years, but stoppage time is the extra time that gets added at the end of a half, typically to account for the delays in the game, because soccer has a running clock. There's no stopping it. And so if someone's injured for a long period of time, if there's other delays, if, a squirrel or a cat runs on the field, and it's not fair to take away a little bit of that time, so typically you'll get a little bit of added time at the end of each to play.
I paid for 90 minutes of soccer playing, so I want to get 90 minutes of soccer playing. You have completely changed my mind. No hate now.
Okay, now we're going to jump into the specific players. We've already covered goalkeepers. Those are pretty obvious. Typically on a field, goalkeepers wear different colors to make sure obvious that you can see them. And we're going to go from the front of the team to the back of the team. Not necessarily least to most important or anything like that, but a striker. What do you think a striker is?
I think the striker is playing the most offense, if I can talk about it like that. So they're closest to the center line, and they are in front of the pack when they're going to make a goal on the other team.
Exactly. You're 100%, man. We're cruising now.
I knew I was right as soon as you said we were going front to back.
Strikers are typically the ones that are scoring goals. Strikers are oftentimes the players that are glory attention seekers, maybe the divas of the team, but typically they're the ones that are putting the ball in the back of the net of the opposing team.
Mm-hmm.
Now, someone who's near the striker, a winger. What do you think a winger is?
Players who play along the side of the field, along the whole length of the field?
Exactly.
Is that true?
Yes.
Oh,
Yep.
man,
You're
I'm
hitting the
good.
nail on the head, Emily. You're good with this. Wingers are typically close to the striker and they are on the sideline. They're the ones that are either playing the ball into a striker or they are making plays happen, but from a side position going towards the center of the goal. A lot of famous players out there in the world are traditionally wingers. So the big names like Lionel Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo typically are in that category of wingers.
They're kind of the assist usually, but they also can make goals, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
They're some of the biggest players, you said.
Exactly. They can both make assists and goals. They're oftentimes the most well-rounded offensive players for sure. All right, now we're going to keep taking a step back. We're starting to get into the midfield.
All right, well, all I got for the midfielder is the player who plays in the middle of the field.
Honestly, you're not wrong. There are different types of midfielders. We're not going to go into the weeds today because we could spend hours talking about soccer philosophy, but ultimately they're the ones that have to run the whole length of the field. So they're the ones that have to run for miles and miles and miles in a soccer game because they got to be offensive as well as defensive, which leads us into defenders. Hopefully this one is straightforward.
I think they play closest to the goalie to defend the goal.
Exactly. Not a shocker here. They're the ones that are trying to keep the offensive team or the other side's offensive players out of the goal of their own side. Now, those are all the players. There's a lot more nuance, I'm sure, but we're going to talk a little bit about formations. Now, we're not going to cover every formation on the planet, Emily, but if I said to you the numbers 4-4-2 or 3-4-3 or 4-2-2-1, what do you think that all means?
So you said there was 11 players. All of these numbers add up to 10, and I'm assuming another one is the goalie. And the formations are a combination of where the others form on the field, I believe. So maybe a 4-4-2 is, I don't even know how many of each of these positions there are. Can you be a midfielder or a winger? Can you play two? Can you have more wingers on the field than midfielders? Or strikers on the field?
You're on the right track there. You're on the right track.
That's one question.
Typically, these numbers reference how many defenders, midfielders, and offensive players you have. However, as soccer has continued to evolve, everyone comes out with fancy new formations. And so in these days, just that's typically the number of people you'll see as you go from the defense to the offense. Lots of different terms, but just generally that's how the team is stood up, is defenders is the first number, the last number is typically your striker or your offensive players.
I see that they have a lot more, you always want more defenders, it looks like, or that's kind of typical. In these ones, there's more defenders than there is strikers.
That's pretty common. Typically, it's a lot more difficult to defend one or two people with most people, as opposed to trying to play 1v1. So typically, a lot more people will have a larger number of defenders than on the offensive side.
Okay, interesting.
So those were a couple terms, Emily. You actually did a freaking fantastic job.
Thank you. I feel I'm proud of myself for really, not depending on Google, not depending on AI, not depending on Wikipedia. I tried.
You're an expert now, just like our listeners now. Now, of course, there's more terms out there, so certainly take a look at those show notes if you want to dive into more details, or if you need some of the visuals that would help. Honestly, would recommend taking a look at just visuals. I'm a visual person, so sometimes I struggle to keep the mental picture of all these things happen, even if you don't remember all these terms that I just went through. Honestly, still, you can have plenty of fun while watching soccer. And we got to speak with Peter Hattrip, a local Seattle Sounders and Seattle soccer legend. And this is one of the things that he talked about, not to get too spoiler into one of our future episodes, but he talked about this where at the end of the day, soccer is meant to be enjoyed. Bring your emotions to the game. Yes, the terms are great to remember, but at the end of the day, just have fun with it. Enjoy soccer.
So whether you are a business owner thinking about a watch party or just someone trying to learn the difference between a corner kick and a penalty kick, this is your reminder that now is the time to get ready.
Learn a few terms now, make a plan now, and June gets a heck of a lot more fun.
We will put the business resources in the show notes, including the local and regional playbooks Tammy mentioned.
If you have a beginner soccer question, or if your business is planning something around these summer matches, send it our way. Happy to help you guys get you connected with the right resource and everything else.
And if you're interested in promoting your events or your business, also reach out.
This has been From Pitch to Puget Sound,
Presented by the Snohomish Podcast Network.
See you next time on the pitch.
Quick note, this podcast is independent and not affiliated with or endorsed by FIFA or the FIFA World Cup.